Hi, I'm Sharp FLA, and welcome back to 15 over 15. I've tried to learn how to do many things in my life, and even at my young age, I've accumulated far more failures than successes. I've tried to learn how to play musical instruments, how to code, how to animate, and throughout all those processes, there's one thing that's always remained very clear. I will always suck at something before I am good at something. Accepting this has been exceedingly useful as I continue to wait to not suck. Hopefully the works on this channel will bring an end to my long journey. This is 15 over 15. It's a project between me and my collaborator Genus where we make 15 films in 15 weeks. This is week 9 and man has it been a journey. In our first and second episodes, we managed to make surprisingly good films for our first foray into this. A streak of success that did not continue into the third week, which didn't only result in the hardest work week on the project, but also a film that looks like this. Ever since, we've been having our ups and downs, making some kind of good films and some kind of bad films, but after each one, we feel more in sync, more prepared for the next production. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Getting so familiar with production that we don't have to think about it anymore. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome, come in. Prepare to be injected with our madness. With that out of the way, let's get started.
Nice to meet your friend. It's week 9.
Week 9.
Let's go!
Magical girl. Yeah, we have a board this time.
What if we do... What ideas do we have? I like simple shit. Robots?
You're talking about just general things to include? Magic, sparkles, there's a transformation, but I don't know about that.
Should it be like a very small conflict that's happening? Like the magical girl sees something wrong? Like maybe a dog is like chasing a bird or something? I like the idea of just like a girl that's like just a circle.
Cool.
It's all gonna be primitives, like shape primitives. So if we do like a puppy character, we're gonna look like a Nintendo. Good one! Maybe there's just like a cat stuck in a tree that could go full in. Magical girl transforms.
And it's very minute change. They just get a recolor.
Ooh. Does the change. And they can't do it.
I don't know, and my brain just went to what we had last week when I was animating Partner, and he just starts easing and then falls into the... I'm trying to think of how that can be maybe incorporated as like a punchline. So they go up, they go save cat, I don't know, branch breaks, they fall, hit the ground very hard, but the cat sort of just flows down because they need it. They would always land on their feet or something. Just the cat gets down safely.
Like the magical girl runs up the tree, does a cool move.
It's like a slow-mo.
Hello again, Present Sharp speaking. I thought this would be a good time to highlight an aspect of making these shorts that really shouldn't go overlooked, and that's just how bare bones our pre-pro is. For many of the artists that I've talked to over the years, a common issue for them is getting through pre-production. Whether it's finding a good idea, writing it out into a usable story, or taking that story and converting it to something that you can actually watch, pre-production is something that's very easy to get lost in. Part of that is why we chose to do pre-pro the way that we do it in 15 over 15. For most of these films, we're coming up with the ideas, writing them out, and thumbnailing them within the first day or two. Ideally, we try to leave our initial meeting with something that we can turn into a story reel, even if it's a story reel with drawings that are frankly impossible to understand without context. The whole point is to get our idea as close to the final form that it will be as soon as possible. In this case, video. By putting them in a story reel, we can get an idea of how long shots should be, see whether things are linking up the way that we want them to be linking up, and we can even run them by other people for blind tests to see if things are reading the way that we want them to. It can be an intimidating prospect to put your work in such a bare form, but it's so valuable. At least I know it was for us. Now on to actually making the thumbnails that'll go into the story reel.
I erased the dog. Start off. Another city skyline. The sidewalk, the girl walking up. We show the cat in the tree. It goes like, what's going on?
Well, it almost, in terms of shot, it's almost following the same beats as a superhero as well. We got our city establishing sort of thing. Girl walking is the same as our running. Girl notices thing, hero notices thing. We show the thing that they're noticing. And then so we get a full shot of her getting into pose, and she assumes whatever stance, I don't know what her superhero stance is. Ginyu Force dabbing.
Just like pull out a wand or something.
Yeah, she can have a wand.
Maybe what we can do, we can play it more dramatic, where we start on sort of a mirror of this shot, but then she goes into action pose.
Wait, they pop up a pose exactly the same, and then like the change just pops in like a second later.
I was gonna have her like run up the tree, like the speed lines.
Is in front of the sun and is silhouetted.
Yeah.
Sort of like a Sonic Adventure moment, like where they cross in front of the moon. And I think that should take about 30-ish seconds.
Yeah. I feel like we're in the 30, 45 second ballpark. I think that this is a story and it's effective and we'll probably read okay.
Okay, so now that we have the thumbnails done, it's time to make the thing. This week, we were pretty much able to just run with the thumbnails that we did during the meeting, and my first job was to take those and turn them into a story reel. Usually this doesn't take very long. I'll use 4 seconds for my general rule for timing out shots. Some shots will be shorter, some shots will be longer, but 4 seconds is usually enough time for the viewer to get engaged with what's going on screen and catch up to what you've cut to, but not so much time it feels like it drags on for too long. Genus put together a character design and I transmogrified it to fit my desires. This is usually how it goes. There's always a bit of back and forth, but here's what we got. What I find to be important on all of the 3D 15/15 projects is that I get my character rig in a state where Genus can animate with it as quickly as possible. We use a parallel workflow where once I get the character rigged, Genus can immediately start animating with it, and I can continue to work on textures and shaders at the same time. For the rigging, I use a tool called Auto Rig Pro, which is a super handy Blender add-on for rigging humanoid characters. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because it's a bit expensive and kind of limiting when you're trying to do more complicated rigs, but if you're just trying to slap a rig on a person in like 5 minutes and just have it done, then it's very nice. Something that made this week different is that I actually got to animate this time. Usually on our 3D projects, Genus is the only one animating. I usually pay attention to basically everything else, and we don't have the ability to divide our time so much. This time, the pre-production was so simple I could actually do something, and that something was the transformation sequence. Every good magical girl is going to have a baller transformation sequence, so I wanted to put something together that would meet the mark. Nothing fancy because time isn't really on our side, but definitely a transformation sequence. If you want to be an animator, animate to camera. If you don't see it, you don't need to make it move. Just save yourself some time and ignore what you can't see. Never mind that, let's get into some shot breakdown. Honestly, this was a super straightforward week, and that was for the best. It made things way easier, but there were a few shots that were kind of special that I feel are worth explaining. First is the glowing body parts transitions and the transformation sequence. The short version is, fix it with an empty. I had a separate version of the character that had this shader on it that allowed us to transition between the normal shader and this emission shader to get our nice glow. It's emulating the effect of the cell animation days where if you wanted to have a glowy, sparkly character, you would allow the light to pass through from behind the cell by turning your backlight on. It would go through the transparency and kind of blow out the film. The particles are attached to the same object that's driving our shader. It's using Blender's inbuilt particle system, and all I did was turn gravity off and turn drag up really high. It's a simple effect, but what we were emulating was quite simple, so it does a pretty good job. Next is the fall out of the tree, very straightforward, except some creative decisions we had to make along the way. Originally, we wanted to go for a ragdoll kind of thing and have some Gmod sound effects on top of it because we thought that'd be funny. So I did a test for it, and it was a bit much. We wanted it to seem kind of brutal, but yeah. Instead, we ended up going for the Smash Buried look. I thought it was a funny reference because Genus plays a lot of Smash, and it turned out pretty nice. If I had to pick one word to describe what made this week really work, it would be simplicity. Our story is simple, our characters are simple, our style is simple, and that helps make everything better in turn. I could spend my time making the best character models I've ever made, but that would take away time from making environments and lighting shots. Both things we need to do. Even if things can be more complicated, as long as they still have this sense of completeness, they can still serve their purpose. Of course, we didn't get to this revelation instantly. We had to get through our rough patches. Sometimes you just have to make films that are too complicated, too ambitious, and fall on your face throughout the whole project. Films like Week 3. Anyways, thanks for... What the... I was saying weeks like Week 3... Week 3 fucking sucks! Huh? Shh. Who are you? And where are we? And why do you look like me? And what's going on? I'm you from the future, so believe me, right now is a good time to shut up. Stay quiet while I go fix your mistakes. That's is he gonna... Hey! Hey! Doing? She's gonna... It's a little girl, man.